I'm going to make this introduction somewhat short and as descriptive as I can be. This is a new DNA study. If you're not aware, we were involved in Dr. Melba Ketchum's whole genome study, the Sasquatch genome study, for 5 years. It didn't get a lot of recognition. I do believe that the findings of that study were correct, and I hope this next study backs up and goes alongside of the original findings. This is the DNA contributors and their stories of how they came about gathering this evidence.
And so, the agreement is they go ahead, they do the DNA assessment of it, they give us the results, and then they send it all back here. So you maintain, control of it. It doesn't belong to anybody but you.
And that's why I wanted him to come out here to physically take the samples, because once we were talking about the chain of custody.
Yeah. Yes, that's got to be
how
very
important that is.
controlled. And right now, what I'm doing is I'm touching this with my hands, of course. Now it'll be, but it doesn't have what we need, which is the biggest problem with DNA testing with hairs. Is a DNA hair basically, I think, for Bigfoot is an insulation. It's like duck feathers.
Yeah.
So that when you look at the hair under a microscope, it's hollow, so it'll hold air in and also clearly insulate. But the complaint people have is, well, if there's no skin or blood attached, then it's very difficult to do any kind of good DNA tracking on it. So you can say, well, it's a different kind of hair, but is it? God, there's a lot of this stuff.
I'm actually thinking with that ball of hair he's got, there's probably some
scalp.
Possibly. That's what it looks like in the photo. Something's attached to it.
So is that your impression, George?
What?
That what you have has got some scalp on it and skin, maybe?
Blood? It's all matted up. And
yeah.
Okay, that sounds excellent.
I was looking at it through the bag. I seen like grass and stickers and stuff inside it.
That's good. So he probably had maybe even a chunky hairball that got caught.
Maybe it was a hairball that got caught, not his piece of scalp?
Possibly, which is fine. A hairball is going to take some skin with it. I'm cool with that.
Yeah. Well, Cynthia, can you get a white envelope and we'll just put it in it for now so we don't...
Yeah.
So why don't we grab one of those?
Hereford Red.
I need one of his jackets.
Jackets?
Hereford Red.
Both?
No, with pockets.
Wow.
Oh, you need to get one.
I don't have any pockets. Here, this is
There was left. You saw 3 individuals walking in the mesa area.
Yes.
Now, there's something growing up on that mesa behind your house. What is that?
There's the nappy, cornfields, apple orchards.
Apple orchards, cornfields, pumpkins. So there's a variety of crops just up there. And just below your house here, what do we find?
The San Juan River.
The San Juan River. So there's a water source on one side, and there's an actual abundant food source of crops just above your house. How far do you think that is from here? It doesn't look that far. Maybe a quarter of a mile?
Yeah, about a quarter mile.
To the base of the mesa, and then you go up on the mesa and down that way, and you find the nappy fields.
Yes.
Okay. So besides you seeing that, were these individuals walking away from you or towards you when you saw them?
They were walking away up the mesa.
Up the mesa. And you saw 3 of them, you said?
Yes, 3.
Can you even guess, were they all the same size? Were they different sizes?
No, there was one, there's a darker color, that one was black. From the distance we see it looked black. And then there was 2 smaller ones that color, that hair.
Of the reddish color hair?
Yeah.
Okay. So there were 3 individuals. One appeared to be an adult and 2 juveniles or younger ones or smaller ones moving together up the hill. When they walked, can you describe how they walked? What did it look like? They were going up the hill when you saw them walking?
Yeah. If anybody walked up that hill, it'd take them a while, but those things just went up there real fast.
They just went up as if it was no problem.
Yes.
So they would plant their foot, then they would step, and they would be making progress uphill at an angle.
Yes.
And if you and I tried to do it, we would be having to bend over, stumbling, falling, and not really being able to get up there.
Yes.
The angle on that hill looks pretty steep to me. It looks at least 45 degrees. at the most maybe a very steep climb to get up there. So now, have you ever found anything besides the hairs around here?
Footprints.
You found footprints. Were you able to document those?
I took pictures of footprints.
Okay. And when did these footprints occur? Was that about the same time you saw the hairs, or
Yes.
before or after?
Well, that day we seen those 3 up there. We came down and we took a pumpkin and some watermelons up there. Well, let's leave it up there, see if they come down. And we came back. We ate dinner next door. We had a little cookout. And so we decided to go back up there again.
To see what had happened?
Yes, and one of the watermelons was gone. And we found it farther up from where we left them. And it was broken in half and had bite marks.
It's got big bite marks.
So it had bite marks in it.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So something had broken the watermelon open and bit into it and eaten it.
Yes.
Now, the footprints that you saw, we haven't looked at the photographs, but what did they look like to you?
They look kind of long and narrow.
Would you say, let's say about 17, 18 inches long?
Yeah, about 16 inches.
16 inches?
What I measured, it was 16.
16 inches, okay. So they were clearly something, if you saw it and you didn't know it was a Bigfoot, you say, that's a man with a really big foot?
No, I was thinking, when we first saw them going up the hill, I was thinking, wow, there's a Bigfoot right there. I could tell. I knew it was what it was.
So it clearly was something with 5 toes.
Yes.
It's a naked foot, and it was found near where the fruit had disappeared.
Yes.
Okay, and then you later found the fruit with bite marks a little bit farther away, been broken over and apparently eaten.
Yes.
Okay, so presumably these animals had eaten this stuff. Now, how long have you lived here in this area, in this house, in this general area?
I've lived here all my life.
And so how old are you right now?
I am 34.
34. So you've been here since the beginning. And your mother, did she live here in this house too?
Yes.
So this is a family tradition. Did your parents, when you were growing up, ever say anything to you about these things or tell you stories that they might have seen something?
My dad, but he was, we have a sheep camp. His mom has a sheep camp up there in behind Sasquatch. In
Sasquatch.
The mountains.
How do you spell that? I don't know. That's what they call it. Okay.
Lots of activity, Sasquatch area.
Sasquatch area. So
lots of activity.
Okay.
And that was a long time ago, like more than 20 years ago. My little brother and my little sister were small little kids then, and they were picking herbs and stuff out in the mountains. And they heard it sound like, my dad said it sounded like a little baby was crying. And so he got worried and started walking around. And he said he walked up upon it. It was walking down a trail. And he said he looked at it face to face, whatever it was. And he said he got scared. He turned around and started stumbling through the trees, everything, trying to get away. And it threw a big rock down toward where they were at. Like a boulder, kind of. Like it looked like a banana, kind of. And it came flying out of the hills.
So it was definitely there. So there, as far as you know, there's been transgenerational activity here. Your father experienced things in the general area. Have you ever heard any sounds at night or heard any other things that you couldn't account for?
Just like we heard a growl on this side. Like it sounded like it was down the hill. We heard a growl and like rocks would be thrown. One rock hit this. We had the solar lights on top shining that way.
Okay, when the growl occurred, where were you exactly? And
I was at my trailer. My mom was the one that heard it. She was in her house.
She heard a trailer and she heard some rocks, the sound of rocks hitting the woodshed?
Yeah, it hit real hard. And then the dog started barking right here.
Okay, and then the dog started barking. So it was throwing things at your woodshed. And did you investigate and find any rocks? Or
she told us she came. Yeah, we did find one. But we were doing the wood yesterday, and we raked up around and we moved that rock that was back there. But it's a pretty good round size.
Was it bigger than a baseball?
About the size of a baseball almost.
Maybe a little bit bigger, around that size.
Yeah.
Okay. So something threw a rock at the woodshed and it was growling. What did she say the growl sounded like? Did it sound like a dog or?
Kind of real loud, like
Deep growl,
deep,
rumbling growl.
throaty growl, yeah.
Like that?
Yeah.
Something like that. And so, what we're going to do with this is
Right up by the Palisades.
we're going to seal it. This will leave on Monday to Jeff Meldrum after I have the fourth phone call with him about this, about the protocol for returning the material that's not used, all of it back to the people who, basically this group that we seem to be coalescing, and so you guys will get it back and we'll keep it, you know, in this region. So that's the idea. We're going to try to extract DNA. Of course, the more hair samples we have, the better chance we have of doing it, because hair shafts are notoriously hard to extract DNA from. If it has a root, a bulb, where there's, you know, an attachment spot, and it sounds like we might have some given the way it happened, instead of just a hair falling off, you're much more likely to get a positive result, and enough that you can then say what it is or what it isn't. So
And it's looking like here in just a few minutes we might have some live specimens.
yeah, that would be kind of cool.
It's going nuts.
We have
We've
done our
got nuts
peanut butter
activity.
transect out of half a mile or so, quarter of a mile, I would say, not half a mile. And we've got some peanut butter on the trunk of a tree out there. We heard rustling of leaves while we were coming back, and we found a place, I don't know how we would describe it, as a copse, where there was stuff clearly cleared out.
Like an ambush
And
line
like an
for the
ambush
deer.
point, and it went way back and way back and way back. You could see where multiple individuals could literally bed down there.
Oh, yeah.
And it reminded me of what Rob was talking about in terms of clearing the soil and the ground up, because there was very little stuff in there, and it was covered over, so it would be a nice warm place to hang, but also to ambush anything coming down the road.
Les, would you state your name and let's get today's date and everything and what you've submitted here?
Les Godwin. Today's date is November 8th, 2014, and submitted samples of hair that was extracted from a pine tree west of Sheep Springs, New Mexico, in the Chusca Mountains.
And we've got some black hair and reddish hair, or was it gray?
Gray. It's gray.
Okay, we've got black and gray.
Uh-huh.
Okay, that's an older individual.
An older individual.
Yeah. Excellent.
In color, the other was very, very dark, and the male or whatever it was just sitting there watching them kind of do this.
From what we can gather so far, the young are a lighter phase, and then they go into whatever color they're going to go into.
And whatever they're going to be.
But this chestnut, orangey, and the under surfaces would be more of an orange, and the over surfaces would be more of a chestnut.
Chestnut? Okay.
And what it does, man, you laid into these salt cedars or anything like that in here, and they're gone. The orange is something people don't really care, think about much in camouflage, but we add it to our camouflage after tracking these guys. And the chestnut is actually, depending on the spectrum your eyeballs see, the chestnut's the best color to have the lowest response to the eye.
We were talking about the orangutan red today too.
Yeah,
what a
that's
wonderful
more what-
red panda red, yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of where this goes in the
All he said was, legs running this way. He yelled at it and ran after it.
And it ran into this tree.
Okay, well, you need to come in.
It was full of
This
hair.
angle's good. Okay. And in fact,
So basically, your brother saw it run into this tree, and that's when you decided to.
He heard it running this way. Just crash, 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 crash. And he yelled at it. He took off running after it, not knowing what it was, to see what it was.
Excuse me.
But by the time he got over here, it had already gone.
But he saw great big huge legs below
Yeah.
the pine boughs.
Just
So. Weren't they getting some 12-foot strides up here with the tracker they brought up?
Yeah, he's up here.
So okay, we don't need to go there. Your word's fine, brother. So who was doing the 12-foot strides? Who tracked them?
I was Phil and Les.
Okay, good.
Here while we take the samples, so we got a videography of the
The other tree I was telling you about, it's kind of off a little bit.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I've got an eyewitness on this tree. That's where we're going to get the hairs. That's the whole thing. I mean, this is tying in the chain of custody type deal.
Okay, we're here at the site of a Sasquatch having run into this tree and it left fur. And we're about to take samples.
You actually see the top part laying right there on the...
Oh, wow.
So he probably did knock it down and kind of mess it up when he
how long
smacked
ago
into
was
it.
it?
3 weeks ago.
Check that up.
There's some bleaching on
Jesus,
top,
that might
so,
be,
so it may have been...
off right there.
Well, it wasn't broke, but he came in when he said his brother saw him and he was gone.
Yeah.
Well, he was surprised because he didn't hear him or see him running down the mountain because he was here.
He was here right behind this tree.
Yeah, he ducked in. That's what they do. So,
yeah, and they just stay behind the tree.
And they stay, and he'll work around you. Now, interesting is this branch, if you notice, is up, turned around. It's up and turned around, meaning his body came in and hit this, and his leg came all the way around here and turned around, and he stood here.
So
this branch followed the angle of attack.
This could very well be leg hair.
Leg and
inseam, lower part of the body, and the lower.
I would say
this part of the body.
Yeah, and on him probably.
It might have been the calf.
High calf behind the knee.
We're in the Chusca Mountains, 2014. It's approximately 2:30 in the afternoon. What is the name of this area we're right in? Does it have any other kind of designation besides Chusca Mountains?
Not exactly that I know of. I'm pretty sure there is, but I don't know it.
Okay.
We are near the Narbonne Pass.
We're near Narbonne Pass, which is the highest point, crosses over into the other side of the mountain range.
Yes, sir. This direction.
Okay.
South.
And we would describe this as a pine forest with mixed pine, aspen, yellow pine, ponderosa pine.
Yes, sir.
All mixed together. It's fairly unmanaged. There are a lot of large old-growth trees here, and so there's presumably a lot of different kinds of food that could be taken by a primate here. What is your full name?
My name is Nicolaus Harley Begay.
Nicolaus Harley Begay. We're talking to Nicolaus about a sighting and an encounter with one of the hairy people, as we call them up here in First Nation, who ran into a tree on his way down a hill.
Yes, sir.
Can you describe to me what your brother told you about the sighting to the best of your ability?
Will do. It was about 3 weeks ago this happened. I believe it was...
What time in the day?
I don't know.
Okay.
Nighttime, daytime?
Daytime or nighttime?
Daytime. It was
okay.
Daytime. They barely got up here, so most likely in the morning hours.
Mm-hmm.
It was October 22nd, I believe. He got up here. Everybody was on the other side of this hill. They're collecting wood. And he started scouting for another tree to take down. He was walking in this direction over here. He walked up over there, and he could hear branches breaking behind him. But he thought it was just the rest of them, so he just, blew it off. And whatever it was, he thought like it was running. He thought maybe it was his brother or girlfriend catching up behind him, so he just kept walking. Until whatever it was running was loud, heavy footsteps. Thud, 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 thud. The way he described it, it was like a horse running, but very heavy. So he finally looked to catch his attention. And what he just saw legs coming down this hillside right here.
Mm-hmm.
Bam, 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 and just breaking trees, breaking branches, crashing.
Now, let me ask you a question before we continue. That's the same direction that the rest of the crew was in?
Yeah, they're on the other side of this hill.
So you could imagine maybe the animal was running away from them. It spotted them and it was coming this way, away from them.
That's what we think it might have happened. Probably woke it up.
Okay. And then what happened?
He yelled at it. And he wanted to know what it was. He started running after it.
So he was over here?
He was over here.
And he started running in this direction. Where do you think he ran? Right along this path here, where we had the roadbed?
Yes, sir.
And it was coming down the hill
He was coming down this way. And by the time he got in this area, it was already...
But apparently it hit this tree.
Apparently it did, yeah, because there's a lot of fur or hair on this tree right here.
Did you say he saw its legs? Did he see it from the waist up?
He just seen the legs. He saw just huge legs.
And he wasn't able to see anything else?
No, nothing else.
Okay, and so did he have any kind of clue of how far off the ground the legs were, how tall?
No, but he did say he seen the strides. The strides were at least 8 to 12 feet strides, he's guessing. And so it was running, it was big, it was fast.
It was big, it was fast, it was heavy because of the sound it was making. It was breaking branches going downhill.
Exactly.
It was running away from something. And as it came down the hill, it hit this tree apparently in that process, maybe it looked back at him and broke one of the branches down at an angle. And on this tree, we've actually been able to find forensic evidence. So the animal clearly was dark. We found dark hairs, also with an auburn mix, and well as blonde to gray, and we've been able to extract those from this tree. Have you or your family seen or heard about anything like this in this area? Could you describe what you've heard, stories told by other people, things that maybe people who are older than you might have told you when you were younger?
My people, my elders, they don't talk about it. It's something they don't not want to talk about. But I do hear that we call them the gluggies, which means the hairy ones.
Gluggies is Navajo.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Back in, I believe it was 1864, when the U.S. Army was rounding up Navajos to take them to Bosque Redondo, there's a lot of infants, a lot of elders that couldn't make the trip. So they left them behind. The rest that could make the trip, they first went to Fort Defiance, and they went to Fort Sumner. They were stuck there for 4 years before the government decided to let them return to their homeland. And when they came back up here, they ran into the loved ones that they left behind. And they asked them, how did you survive? And I said, the gluggies take care of us. The hairy ones took care of us.
Do you have any more details of what it would mean to take care of? What would that mean, do you think? Bringing them food?
Yeah.
Bringing them deer?
Probably. I don't know. That's the oldest story I've heard. But 6 years ago, my oldest brother and I were further up the mountain. And 7 years ago, if you asked me about Bigfoot, I would have been like, I got to see it to believe it. 6 years ago, I heard the strangest sound I've ever heard in my life. I don't know what it was. We have bear, coyote. It didn't sound like any one of those.
What would you call it? Give me one word for what it sounded like.
It sounded like a turkey at first, and it went into a howl, high-pitched scream, and it was loud. And then the direction it came from was on top of the peak, and the peak was about maybe 200 yards up.
So this peak was how far away from you, do you think?
We're about the base of the peak, so like I said, just a straight walk, just straight up it.
Is this peak a rock, or is it a slope like this where a person could walk up it?
It's a steep slope.
Okay.
And straight up.
So is this peak forested, or is it just
Forested.
straight rock?
Forested.
This is forested. Okay. So are those the only two things that hit your mind in terms of events that have occurred?
No.
What about your rest of your family and other people you know?
After I heard the screams, I worked down here at the She Springs Trading Post during that summer. This was in 2008. 2 weeks after that, community members up here started talking about noises, wood knocks, footprints. And as a month went by, there were people saying that they took calves. Calves are missing. And you know, this went on for the summer, and all of a sudden it just kind of stopped.
And what year was that? This year, 2013?
2008, when that happened.
2008.
Yeah,
okay.
when this was happening.
Okay, so that was around the same time that you had your.
You
heard the sound.
Stream, yeah.
Within 2 weeks of that sound, there were disappearances of livestock, particularly calves, and people were hearing wood knocks, screams, and there were footprints being found. Of course, they didn't talk about it outside the community.
No, but eventually they found out because it made it into the Navajo Times.
Oops.
Yeah. And towards the end of the summer, they were putting warning communities to be careful while they're herding sheep, because ex-military was coming in to hunt these creatures.
Did they lose any sheep as well? You said calves.
Calves, I mean, maybe, there's probably, I don't know.
You don't know. So you remember calves, that it might have been sheep as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so there were, you say ex-military, was this a government operation?
No, it was us.
You guys?
2008, yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was with another outfit, but we were pretty big.
Okay. So these guys came in to save you guys, the rescue You know.
We weren't here to kill. We were just here to investigate. We spent about a week up on the Lukachukai, and we made it in the Navajo times too, about the same time. So, yeah, it was not a military operation. It was a research operation. Yeah.
Okay.
Though we have ex-military.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Makes sense.
Now, since then, now it's 2014. That was several years ago. This is the first event that you know of that anyone's told you, let's say in the last year, about a sighting, a sound, or anything.
Same brother, one that seen the creature running down this way. He didn't tell me when it happened, but he was up here previously, just him and his girlfriend collecting firewood in the same area further up this hill. They were loading up wood when he heard something hit a tree up there.
Like something had been thrown at the tree?
Exactly, like in their direction. And, you know, he went down to go look. There's nothing down there.
Okay. Could it have been something falling from the tree, or was it something that hit the tree at a height?
Well, I mean, just imagine something falling from the tree. You know, there's a lot of branches. There's just like, you know, you'd hear that, but all you heard was a thud.
It could have been like a rock thrown at a tree nearby them?
Could, yeah.
Something like that? Okay. So what do you think this is?
Well, a lot of, like I said, people don't talk about it, but a lot of native tribes, they say it's a spiritual creature. Has the ability to travel both worlds, to walk in both worlds, the our world and the spirit world. That's why when people see it, they'll track it and they'll track it as far as they can, and it will just vanish.
And it's hard to determine where it went.
Exactly.
Okay. So you grew up around here?
Not exactly. I grew up in Arizona. I'm from the area. I recently started coming back, and 6 years ago was my first experience.
Yeah.
And people started experiencing that. 4 years after that, another brother of mine left his trailer up here for the winter. Came back from work, saw footprints. Huge footprints.
Okay.
That just walked to his trailer, looked at it, and just went back up into the trees.
So he saw the footprints, and you didn't see what made them, but
no.
it disappeared. Okay. Well, do you have anything else you can remember or recall regarding this incident that we might find important?
That's as far as my family's been encountered. That's it.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay. So your parents, it's interesting when you talk to First Nation people that it seems that younger people are more open-minded to, if they see or hear or something happens, to actually talk about it, whereas the older generation are more reticent. But that's generally part of the culture value at that point, because I know they're more reticent about talking about anything. I mean, it's just a way of being. So anyway, is there anything else that you'd like to say about this that impressed you?
It's make me a believer.
Well, just to let you know for the record, what we're going to do is we're going to be taking these samples, and we will be sending them tomorrow via FedEx overnight, insured, with our GPS and other information on each one of the envelopes, to Dr. Jeffrey Meldrum at Idaho State University. Jeffrey I've talked to him and has agreed in principle that any materials collected, as far as possible, will be returned to the site of collection and whoever is responsible for the siting or the ownership of that material. And this is on your land, it's in your nation, so I assume that would be your family. And so we'll be doing that. The idea is, what does the DNA tell us? We're going to look at the hairs. He's going to look at them forensically, examine them under high magnification, and see if they fit the pattern of what we would call a Sasquatch or a Bigfoot, which has got a very distinct hair design and structure, and also then send them off, and he's going to probably do some of it. He's got local labs to examine them for DNA. The DNA is a scientific fingerprint which will tell us definitively what this animal is related to, and if it is anthropoid, if it's an ape, how closely is it related to us or maybe other great apes. And so we hope to be able to distinguish it clearly with DNA markers and say, well, yeah, this is a different animal. It's not a human. It's not a guy in a furry suit. It's not this. It's not that. It's really a new North American primate, which is at this point, at least as far as we know, they're undiscovered. In other words, there's no live specimen or dead specimen that we can call the primary one to do the study from. Well, anyway, thank you very much. I really appreciate your time, and we will be getting back to you very soon. We'll be maintaining contact. I want to make sure I get your contact information so you can tell your brother what happened here, and he knows what's going to be going on with this material.
Okay.